Come, hold my hand. Let's go on an adventure. This episode is sponsored by The Lost Executive, the executive traveler's source for all things business, travel, and hospitality related, offering curated content for the modern day business person. They bring the world to you, featuring exclusive interviews with business leaders, on-site reviews, industry showcases, and topical interest pieces. The Lost Executive are the leaders in human written journalism. The free digital magazine, The Logbook, is available for reading at www.thelostexecutive.com. Packed with hotel and boutique accommodations, reviews, detailed business articles, and hilarious travel stories from their team of writers, you'll be motivated, educated, inspired, and entertained. So visit thelostexecutive.com today and keep getting lost. Welcome to Momatic Adventures. I'm your host, Effie McMorris. I go by Momo to the child that I parent. And I hope if you're about to listen to this episode, it's because you've already hit that follow button and you listened to last week's episode. So you know what you're in for. But if for some silly reason, maybe this is your first adventure with us, I'd recommend tapping that follow button and then jumping back to episode 27 because this is the second part of that conversation. And it's such a good one. So good. I really hope you listen to that one first just because it'll make the most amount of sense that way. But if you've already listened or you're just a rebel, thanks for being here. And here's the rest of our adventure with Craig Law, CEO of Wild Child Adventures.
I was in therapy. I didn't want to be there. But that was just like what was happening to me. And then alcohol and drugs were the way that I found the identity.
It's self-medicating. It's finding coping tools similar to the Seagrams and Euchre of our elders.
Yes.
You find the things that work to get you through each day. And I'm so grateful that we live in a society and a world where now we're talking about these things openly and we're encouraging people to go to therapy and do their research and find out, because similar to, I'm sure, your wife who works in the medical field, like there are those therapists who are trying to get you better. And then there's the ones who are like, well, I get $80 every time you come here, so I would like for you to keep coming.
Yeah.
And there are, and so finding a therapist that works for you, all of that hullabaloo.
Yes. Yes.
That I don't need to explain to anyone, but I've been in therapy since I was a child. I'm a huge advocate. I think it's so helpful, especially for parents. I think parents in general, like if you've had a kid, your life changes. Whether you decide to parent, whether you decide to not parent, if your body goes through that, if you have to make choices, if you're, even as the non-caring parent, you have to make choices. Your life changes. You went from drinking, not being a parent, and not living in this house to doing all those things around the time your daughter was born. Like your whole life changed.
Totally. And yeah, trying to find the balance, right? Like I still want to exercise. I still want to play hockey. I still want to have a relationship with my wife that exists outside of our children. Right.
Lucky.
But it's like you're spinning a lot of plates and you're really trying to, you're trying to edit and you're just trying to do everything. Right. And to me, that the drugs and the alcohol, like it was no longer serving me to the point of progress. It was regression. And that was like, thank God that my daughter was born. Seriously, like she helped me me so much be a better person. And I say that about my wife too, right? Like my wife pushed me to improve my career and like do all these things.
She encouraged you. She, like, there's this thing where I used to make choices for other people, where I would make these choices and be like, oh, well, I'm dating this guy and he likes this, so I'm going to do that or whatever. Whereas now I make choices for myself because I want to be the best me for them, because I think they deserve that, which is like
and also
a very
for yourself.
different.
Yeah. Like you respect yourself more too, right?
Honestly, she, like, especially for her, I've started whenever somebody says bye to Poppy, they say like, "Oh, I love you, bye," or whatever, and then they're like, "Say you love me," and I'm really trying to say, you could love Poppy too. Hey, don't worry about loving anybody else. Let's work on loving you. And like that's been my like very
Yeah,
intentional thought process that I've been making. But I also am like, tell me you love me, tell me you love me. And it's this
yeah,
weird like desire. And I'm like, the only way to get her to maybe say or give me this thing that I want is to be a person that she loves and to do things that like can establish that love and build that. And so I am working on some of those things right now.
totally.
Um and
And
I
like,
just
oh,
yeah.
with girls especially, so all the girl dads out there, I know you're going to resonate with this one. Teaching them that they have full agency over their body. Where, my wife's family is Italian, and like all the old grandmas and stuff, they always give me a kiss, give me a hug before you leave. And it's like, if she wants to give you a kiss, she can, but it's okay if she just blows you a kiss or waves you or gives you a high five. Like that's her choice. And if the grandma feels bad about that, like it's more on her, because we don't want our daughter to not feel like she has full control in what she does, and she doesn't feel guilted into specific actions, because we know later in life, like that could not look great, for
Yeah.
her. So we're like really trying to start that right now. And it sounds very similar to kind of what you just mentioned.
I think it's very our generation is really trying to combat. I think what we saw on television, on social media, we came up when a lot of that stuff had like just entered mainstream. And
Mm-hmm.
the things, I mean, I talked with someone else in an episode, the things that they used to put on television about girls, like,
Yeah.
uh, it's so disgusting. It's so disheartening. And even now, some of the things I see on social media of just people picking apart other people.
Yeah.
And I get it, man. You don't agree. You don't like it. They're on social media. They're out there for the public to see. You're right. You're not
Yeah.
wrong in having your thought or your opinion. But I am so saddened by the amount of just like pure pain some people put out there
Yeah.
with such limited information.
Totally.
Um,
And
and to
uh,
create that agency and autonomy in our children and teach them that like those words don't matter. Whatever you hear out here,
mhm.
none of this matters. Fuck, it doesn't matter really what's coming from us that much either. It's
Yeah.
all what you feel good doing.
And when we were growing up, right, you had messaging coming from cartoons and shows and things like that. Now, if you put your kids on social media and you let them have an account, like at least when we were growing up, you could only be bullied at school, right? Like people could only bully you in the six period class, and then after that was over, you're like, okay, thank God I don't have to see him again until like maybe after school, but I'm gonna run away or like whatever. Now everyone can bully all the time because of social media, and they can do it behind a screen. At least back then, if your bully bullied you enough, you could get fed up and punch them in the face and they'd still beat you up, but at least you had something. Like
Or
now
you could
it's
go
like,
say, "Hey, Timmy's being really mean to me and it's hurting my feelings." And now it's like JX user 7PQ told me I should jump off a bridge and kill
who could
myself.
be a
And like,
57-year-old angry man?
oh,
It's like there's
who
no
usually
like
is.
yeah, you can just be a total anonymous asshole. And so like, I'm already starting to think about that. Like, when am I going to give her the smartphone? When are we going to get on social media? And I'm like 16, 18, because I need her to develop the skill set of not listening to everybody else and having her own opinion. I want her to have really strong opinions and be strong minded like her mama, right? And that has to come first in order to then go out and combat all of that evil and all of that negativity that is going to be out there, and
Yeah. So next year I speak with this author and podcaster and honestly just like all around cool ass mom called Heather Cox. And uh, I just keep an eye out for that episode when it comes out, because she wrote a book called The Connected Kid, and it talks all about children's social media. The episode we chat about how we navigate being content creators, being social, in especially me, like in a parenting aspect, what that's like and how I do that with the intention of protecting Poppy, talking from my own perspective, not putting words in her mouth, and
Yes.
doing my best to navigate that. But she breaks down different ways, different apps, different computers, PlayStations, gaming systems, because now kids can get attacked from anywhere.
Yeah.
And like
You-
now you have chatting on Netflix on the television. You have, the gaming
mm.
systems,
Yeah, you're not giving your kids access to the internet. You're giving your kids the internet, like the internet access to
access to
them.
your kids. Exactly.
And there's a bunch of weirdos out there.
Unfortunately, there really, really, really are. And so this book, The Connected Kid, which I'll tag in this and the episode and whatever, but she talks about that, and she shares all the different ways to put child protective things on it, to how to teach your kids how to have those conversations, because that's, I think, is one of the most important things, is like we can't just blindly say don't use the internet or don't look at that or you can't
Totally.
use that, that's not for you, you're not allowed, like to explain why we're putting these restraints on this, what is dangerous about it, what can harm you from it, and what has harmed other people. And like
Sure.
I think another thing that we have issues with, they're like parasocial relationships, thinking that like just because we have access to someone on the internet that we know who they are at a core, and all of that. And so that is another thing that I think is really important when we talk internet. And so I'm such pro internet, pro Wi-Fi, all of that.
Yeah. It's such a conundrum, right? Because the freedom of speech, the access to information, like all of that is out there. And I think overall that's a good thing. I think where things get in a gray area is people that want to abuse the anonymous portion of it, people that want to spread disinformation and sow discord, right? Like, and one thing that I love about the outdoors is like generally a forest has no desire to make you not enjoy your time there. But like on social, now that they can measure interaction and like all this equates to dollars, right? The more that we can get people to interact with an article, get fired up about a statement, like all of that is advertising dollars at the end of the day. And so the better we can measure that and the better we can incite that negativity and that quote unquote engagement,
yeah,
right? That means more dollars for us. So what is our incentive? To make you pissed off. And so like that's, I think, not so much Wi-Fi in general, but just the fact of like a lot of times the content that is out there is designed to get them to get money. And it may or may not be true. And they honestly probably don't even give a shit if it is true, as long as it's like inciting you. And so
it's almost sometimes not even about being like true or not. Sometimes the issue, like, because you're talking about so often the bullies, if you will. I think it's actually like National Bully Month or something this month.
It's for bullies or against bullies?
Yeah, no, it's for bullies. Hey, listen, I can bully with the best of them. I am such a
October, long month, a lot of bullying to go around.
we gotta go and do our bullying. But I just feel like I have worked so hard to make my choices, make my decisions, make my beliefs, do the research, find it. And I will say, as I spoke of earlier this morning, from about 5 to 6, Poppy decided like, fuck everything, we're talking for the next hour. And I ended up on some person who was sharing like the pagan ritual in Ireland where they do, Halloween type things or whatever. Sure. And there was all this research. The person like was like very informed, very like culturally aware, was doing such a good job explaining it. And the comment sections were just like, you're going to rot in hell. You're a bad person. Like you're demonic. And I mean, it had millions of comments, people coming out of the woodworks. And she was like, I mean, the engagement's good, but y'all are nuts. Yeah. And like, some of the comments were just so atrocious. And the people who just, and no offense to you, but like white dudes suck on the internet. They come out of nowhere and they are mean and they're like, you're ugly, you're this, you're whatever. And I'm like, Greg, you haven't left your house in 6 months. I like am worried about you. And he's like, you're
Yeah.
gonna rot in hell. And I'm like, am I, or are like you already there?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, there's a lot of hypocritical things going on. And I find my, like, then when I'm doing it, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's not what that's correct. That, like, that's not what we're about, you know? And,
Yeah, but that's it though. That's the self-realization. That's the
yeah.
whole thing. That's the
Yeah.
like, if you're worried about being a good parent, you're already halfway there. Like
Mhm.
if you
For
care
sure.
about not being a dick on the internet, hey, you're doing a lot better than a lot of people
Yeah.
out
And
there.
some people, that's what they want, right? Because they're getting attention then that they're probably not getting in their real life. And so a way that they found, and like everyone's kids do this, right? They do shit they're not supposed to do because they want some attention. And oftentimes when my daughter's misbehaving, it's because I'm on my phone and
Yeah.
she doesn't want me to be, you know, and like, and that's then like a bigger, it's more like I'm pissed at myself for not staying true to that. And rather than like whatever she did, if it's spill her milk or, you know, whatever, it's like actually that behavior was like because of me.
Yeah.
And not abdicating like her bad behavior. Like I don't want anyone to get confused here that like my kid's an angel
No,
and
she's
she's perfect,
allowed to
right?
do whatever she wants. Yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly. But
We
like,
gotta bully her. Like,
yeah,
come
yeah, we got to
on.
bully her, but like covertly, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
I also will say I think so much comes from that. Like in those moments, the frustration is not even that they're necessarily looking for attention. They're like they're just trying things. Like, and I
Mhm.
think that is also sort of what's happening on the internet. They're trying things and then they're getting attention, and then it's like, well, fuck. Like,
Yeah,
um,
and then
because
you know someone gives them a really big reaction, grandma or someone that's not on like the same like, hey, you know what she's doing, just don't
yeah,
give her
yeah.
that reaction, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so today she had a muffin in like one of those plastic containers, and she wants to do the things that we're doing.
Hmm.
Like, she wants milk from the fridge because she sees us take the milk out of the fridge and pour it in her cup. That's the part that she wants. She doesn't fucking want milk. She wants to do the thing that we keep doing that she doesn't get to do. And so we kept opening the container and then closing it, and she like we'd put the food on her plate, then close it, and she'd get so upset. And I'm like, what are you getting so upset about?
Hmm.
And then all I did was like open the container and like left it there. And she just like kind of ate, closed it, was like practicing, put her cup in it, tried to close it with the cup and was like, oh, wait, this, and started just like, and I'm watching her and I'm like, she's not making a mess. She's not hurting anyone. Like I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. She just didn't know what this plastic
Yeah,
container that holds a muffin is.
never
And
seen
I
one like
was,
this.
yeah. And I just remember being like, in that moment, I was so fresh. I'm like, just close it, just leave it alone. What are you doing? And she's like, I just want to know what this plastic thing is.
Totally.
And so I
100%.
think so often my frustration comes from that I'm just so there are things you do so absentmindedly that like they've never experienced before, and giving them the opportunity to make a mess, to try and spill the milk, but then you get the person who's, oh my god, she spilled the milk everywhere, and
Yeah,
now she's like, oh, if I spill the milk everyone
there's a
reacts.
saying about that, I think.
Probably.
But
It's bully your kids and they won't spill the
bullying month,
milk.
guys. And you know, part of, I guess, going back here maybe full circle, but like the whole inquisitiveness, like when you don't let them play with that muffin tin or whatever it is, to me you're signaling like exploration and being, you know, curious. Like that's like a, like, no, like yeah,
You
let's
can't have that.
break this muffin tin, let's just see what happens, maybe we'll wear it as a hat. Like that's the attitude that I want to. It's hard, right? It's hard to like snap out of that moment, but like,
It's hard too because I think like parents innately, I after this episode, I'm gonna show I'll send you a thing. But like behind me it's atrocious. Like it is an absolute mess. Like the chaos that my house, like that our
Mm-hmm.
houses or whatever is right now. And there's this desire for order and routine and it's just so unrealistic and like to expect her to be like, no, we're not opening that, or we're not making a mess, or we're not trying things. Like she learned, we've just let her start using the little vacuum, the handheld vacuum, so she
Yes.
can like
Yes.
dust devil her
Yeah.
messes. Because she's been trying to practice taking things out of a cereal container and putting them into another thing. And like, but cereal makes such a mess. And we have a dog. And so it's like this constant chaos, but
For sure.
letting them sort of try it, she gets more confident with it. She stops making a mess. She learns to clean her mess, et cetera, et
Totally.
cetera. And that's how they sort of become able to do those things on their own,
Yeah.
as opposed to the 30-year-old person who doesn't know how to do their laundry or whatever.
Yeah, and like you're not always going to be there to close the muffin tin for her. We are starting to learn how to cook scrambled eggs. I turn on the fire. Like I do a lot of the stuff, but like I let her stir the eggs, and do they come out beautifully? No, but that's not what I'm not trying to plate it for Iron Chef show. Like we're just trying to get her to have some independence and confidence.
Yeah, we we love trying to crack eggs because
Hmm.
it's such an interactive and relatively cheap. And no matter how bad she does, we'll use like a strainer almost to get
Yes.
like all that cracked
Yeah.
eggs and stuff. But then we just have scrambled eggs, or I let her season them. She gets like it might be the most garlicky eggs you've ever had, but like giving her the ability to do all
Hmm.
that stuff, I think makes her feel so much more confident. The
Yeah.
other day, this is just a really cute story. We went to a zoo and we met giraffes, and
Nice.
she loves animals. And I say that like she's not like every other kid who loves animals, but she is so very brave. She goes up to them, she wants to meet them, she like is so curious. And so we're at this giraffe place and there's a bunch of other kids and they're screaming and they're all nervous and they're going to pet the giraffes and the giraffes don't want to be pet, and so they run away and whatever. And so the giraffe person lady says, oh, they like to be fed. Here's some lettuce. You can feed them. So we give her some lettuce and she looks at us and she was like a little like, I don't know if I should do this. What do I do here? And so I was
Yeah.
like, I'll show you. I did it. And I'm telling you, like right after that, kid turned around, walked over, and she's like, she doesn't even come up to their knees. And these huge giraffes come down in front of her and she's just like, here you go. And they eat the lettuce and she's like, dope, and walks away. And
Core.
it was the cutest thing, obviously, ever. And then I sent it to some people and they were like, she's so brave. Like, how is she so brave? And I was like, we never force her. We would never
Mhm.
force her to do something dangerous. We showed her that we can do it. But I think all these other kids are like, the parents are just like, do it if you want to do it. I'm not going to help you do it. You do, like
Yeah.
there has to be a level of I'm willing to do it. You see us do it. We do it together. We try it. And like, I don't know. I think there's a part of showing them that they can do it that
Yeah.
makes them brave, that makes them say, I can do this.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's
She's going to be 2.5. Like, dad, I got it. I'm going to make the eggs today. And
yes.
they're going to be like the grossest, most peppered, burnt shit eggs you've ever had. But like at 2.5, for your kid to be able to make eggs on their
Yeah.
own is like,
And
it's,
yeah, and
yeah,
giving her like she sees us making dinner and it's like, okay, we could put the TV on and have her totally distracted while we make dinner, or we can like bring her along and I'll just chop up cucumbers. I give her like a plastic knife and then she eats the cucumber and like she's
we
there and
love,
she's
yeah.
but the thing that I've started telling her, it's probably not true for everyone, but like generally I see the boys mature physically a little bit faster, right? They're faster to jump and play and whatever. And so my daughter, like mentally, she's sharp as a tack, but physically she's not super strong, right? And so she's learning how to like step up and down without holding on to the door frame or someone's hand. And so I've just said, trust yourself. And that has like been so helpful for her. She's like hesitant to go down the slide and she's like, Daddy, hold my hand. And I'm like, just trust yourself. I'll be right here. And she's starting to do that. Right. And man, these two words are so powerful to like enable her to just take that risk. Like, hey, I'm here.
That's such a
Just
good one.
trust yourself, and
I'm taking that and putting it in
yes,
our tool
yes,
belt because
try
that is
it.
so because
Try
I've
it.
been trying like, oh, you got
Right.
this, like, and I'm like, oh, but sometimes she doesn't got it. Like
Or
sometimes she
like, are you
falls and
always going to
then
be there to tell her you got
yeah,
this? No,
you're
like you
right.
need her to have that, like that
It's
mentality of,
yeah.
and that's why I like adventure so much too. Like you guys probably experience this all the time where you're on the road, maybe you get a flat tire, like something comes up, right? That's just part of
Always.
adventure is like something's gonna happen. And it's like, okay, I gotta figure it out. That's like a skill that I feel like kids and like yeah, I grew up in a really affluent area and like like I recognize how privileged my youth like growing up was, right? Totally recognize that. But there were times in my life where I chose to do adventures and I'm so grateful for all like at the time the challenges suck. Like you're like, how are we going to get out of this one? It's like an episode of TV and you find a way and you just figure it out. And like now, like I'm so much more resilient because someone wasn't like, oh, we can just like pay $19 and like here. And that's like, so I don't know how like closely you've been following my stuff, but we're building like a fishing kit for kids right now. And it's gotten me thinking about why did I choose fishing, right? Like it's not like a thing that like it's like not a thing, right? Like parents don't really give a shit about fishing unless they fish themselves. And I had this really nice moment yesterday. We took one of my nephews and we went fishing and we didn't catch any fish. He didn't catch anything. I caught something. He didn't catch anything. But it made me realize, yeah, holding the fish is really great. But like learning why you didn't catch the fish, the skill set of the fish, how to tie the knots, the patience, the curiosity. Okay, if I throw it there and I don't catch anything, should I throw it over there? And maybe, like all of that is like what I see as is like part of that
The
reason
part
for me.
it's
Like
the
that
fishing
journey.
isn't the yeah,
It's
it's
not
the
catching the fish.
whole
Like that's great. Like you could probably find a place where you could pay $20. It's stocked with fish. There's a fish every meter. If you throw a hot dog or a piece of corn or anything, like we can catch you a fish in 10 minutes. That's not what there's like no value in that. Right. There's like, yeah, you caught a fish, but like,
there's the dopamine rush, there's the excitement, there's the add to cart feeling, there's the
right, exactly.
whatever, but it's not the long journey. It's not the thing that we're supposed to be instilling in our kids. And I think I see fairly often, especially because we're constantly in different cities, we're in different places. There is a lot of here, just give it to the kids. Just give it to them. Just give it to them. It'll cost you $50, but let's just give it to them. And then we don't have to deal with it anymore. And then they have it. And it's like, okay, but we're big fans of going to the park and looking for different things. Yesterday we went to the
Yes.
park and we saw two bunnies, like
Amazing.
two out there, just
Yes.
bunnies. And she like when I tell you we walked the whole way home, two bunnies. Like she just kept saying, she was like, two bunnies.
Like
Like we
made her day, made her week. Like, holy yeah.
yeah. She was just like, we saw, and we'll go and we get acorns and we pine cones and we put them
Yes.
in a brown bag and we'll take them home and we'll put leaves on tape and we'll trace
Yes.
things. And like we can make, you know, uh, walk to a park a block and a half away, a 3-hour activity because we walk there, which means no stroller. She's walking, we're holding hands. It's taking an hour because she has to stop at every water thing and grate.
Yeah.
And oh, that car is a different color than that car. Oh, the bus drove by. I know about a bus. Did you see a squirrel? Like it takes us absolutely forever, but it costs us $0. We take a baggie, we go, we pick out some things, we come home, we pour them out, we play with them, we talk about them, we, whatever. And
And
I think
yeah.
it just creates that level of like, not everything has to be this I caught a fish moment. It can be
Right.
the I'm outside fishing. I'm doing this
Yeah.
activity.
And when I do take my nephew and he does catch a fish, that fish is going to be so much more rewarding for him because he didn't catch the first two, three, four, whatever. Right. Like that fish for him is going to be such a bigger memory than like the farm pond where we paid the $20, we got the fish pick, and then we went and did something else, like the like novelty version, right?
Like thing, yeah.
Yeah, and like I want my nephew to want to call me and be like, "Hey, when are we going again?" When like I want him to watch YouTube videos about like knots and baits, and like I want him to like use the Wi-Fi for that way, right? Where like he's like learning about the world, and then he's taking that knowledge, and now we're going to catch bigger fish, and we're catching up fish on a river, and like so like that's for me, like the products that I want to develop are not like, I'm not worried about catching the fish. I want the opportunity for the kids to be out there, to be on that journey of, yeah, we're walking to the park, but like to go back to that Jack Daniel's shirt example, like that $2 had like infinite return, right? And like the snacks you brought to your park, and then the intention of like, did you see a squirrel, a bunny, an acorn, like this scavenger hunt idea, like awesome. One of my favorite ones is like, so it's fall, when you get a rainy day, a couple days after that, if you guys go on like a nature hike, like in an actual like forest preserve, there's like thousands of mushrooms, and the kids like once you point one out to them, and then they become super
What are
into
you
it.
talking about, the kids?
I know
It's like, it's
that's,
my,
yeah, it's for
I
me, but
fucking go nuts. She is like, yeah, they're cool. But oh my God, you take the, and then I, maybe it's the thing that I shouldn't do, but I love to pick them and then like peel them apart and show her the
that's
different insides. And
totally
like, we also have gone to a couple different classes through different library systems and stuff where they do outside classes. And we talk
awesome.
about different seeds. We talk about how things plant. Or we do, I remember when the cicadas came out, we did a cicada class. Oh, and what am I thinking of? The moon? What's the moon thing? The eclipse? Oh yeah. See, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, those are cool. Did you guys do those? No, you didn't.
Yeah, these are from this year. So the little ones were like, we had the, sorry for everyone that's listening, I'm showing her a shadow box of cicadas right now. So my daughter was fascinated by them. And then this year
Because
we
they're
had
so cool.
I think we had the 13 and 17-year broods. So these
Yeah,
like
yeah.
little ones are those. And then this is the annual, much bigger green guy. So I just like found these in my backyard, and she loves to look at them. But yeah, like that stuff, right? Like it doesn't need to be this big elaborate thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like gratitude, like the smaller things you can be grateful for, like the more powerful it is.
100%. And I think just like instilling that in them and teaching them that like this is the goal, this is what we're going for, and this is
Mhm.
like what we're hoping you learn, and just keeping that communication going between you and them, I think helps both of you get what you want out of it.
Totally. Keep
Um,
going. What's your schedule
yeah,
like?
yeah, yeah. A couple more minutes.
Okay.
I am gonna have to go because she'll get up at 2:30, and I need like 10 minutes to go to
I hear
that.
you. For sure, for sure. Um, yeah, like, and so I don't even know what I was gonna say now. Oh, so like my daughter loves Arboretum. Like she wants to go there now. And it's like it's
Oh yeah.
getting to the point where I'm like, it's like the opposite of like people that are like, these kids are throwing a tantrum when I take the iPad away. Like now, like my daughter's throwing a tantrum because I won't take her to the Arboretum. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is what I wanted. And like this is such a blessing.
It's such a blessing. She's like that about the library.
Mhm.
She's been to over 40 libraries
Oh
now.
man, so cool. So
So
cool.
we're like, I mean, 13 states, I think now, over 40, I think we just hit 40 libraries like 2 days ago or something. But she absolutely loses it when she knows we're going to a library. She knows we're going to read books at the library. She knows that there are toys. And very often we don't go to a library more than like maybe 10 times in a month because we're there. We try and go to different classes. So we try,
Yeah.
most areas have like 5 to 10 libraries. And so we're able to be like, okay, there's a story time. This will place on Monday. We'll go there. Then we'll go there on Tuesday or whatever. So like it's not just, she understands the concept of library. She knows that there are books. She knows that there are toys. She knows that there are things that she can explore. And like, she is stoked to go to the library so much more than if I think we said, oh, we're going to go to the movies.
Yes. 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 And that's I think me and you are on the same page there in terms of like long term what we're trying to achieve, and what's rewarding, right? Like I want my, I mean, you can see all the books behind me. Like, have I read them all? No, but I've read a lot of them. And sorry,
I'm not
my dog is
a dog.
yeah, he's a little dramatic. He's a Devo. He wants to come in and out of my office. So he
Yeah,
came in
because you
earlier.
closed the
That's why.
door. That was rude.
Well,
You're
that's why I
being
stood up earlier. I had to let him in. He was crying and the kids are asleep.
uh, typically, my husband gets up with Poppy in the morning, and then I get like another hour of sleep because I get up with her and nurse in the middle of the
Sure.
night. And
Sure.
so, whatever excuse I have to get a little bit more sleep. But
Oh, yeah.
so I just hear her, Momo's sleeping, Momo's sleeping. But during this time where I'm like, I'm sleeping, let me sleep. As soon as the two of them are up, the dog's like, oh, I want to go out there. But then he knows that I'm still in the bedroom. So then I want to go back in there. And so it's just the scratching at the door, and I'm like, who's sleeping? Who's sleeping right now?
Yeah. Yeah. This is my time.
Yeah. I was supposed to be sleeping. Um, but if you ask my husband, he would take fake sleeping in bed for another hour over
For
getting
sure.
up and having to change his
Yeah.
diaper in the morning.
I'm a night owl. So, like, yeah, early mornings for me, they've become easier, but I'm like, man, it takes me a little while to get the motor running fully.
Yeah, I'm just mornings suck. I'm not. I don't drink coffee, and I think that's another big. Yeah, so I don't have that like moment of getting. I do drink Diet Coke, which is my caffeination of choice.
Fair. He wants to come back in. Yes.
But I think like the other, like the pick me up of coffee and the like, I just don't have that instant I'm awake, I have everything I need right now. Like I
No.
need like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I'm like an old computer. I got to like boot up and like do all the loading. And yeah, I can't just like flip the lid open and I'm ready to go.
But okay, so as we come to an end, at the end of every episode, I like to give my co-host the opportunity to ask me a question if you have one. And then I want to give you the opportunity to let us know like how we can find you, what we want, if we want to get fishing kits for our kids,
Cool.
how we can get them, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. I think my question for you is it's kind of two parts. So with the nomadic lifestyle, I love it. What has been like the unexpected positive, right? Like of like kind of going on this journey with your family? Like what is something, like I know that you had reasons you wanted to go, and I'm sure some of those have been fulfilled, but what is one of the things that like totally surprised the shit out of you where you're like, wow, I never could have expected this. So positive. And then what's like also one of the things it's like, man, I thought this would get better, but like it's just still really this is just part of what we're doing. Like it's just a challenge.
thing that was like unbelievably exciting that I don't like, I guess maybe we sort of knew. I didn't think we would get to meet as many people as we have. I didn't, not, that's not, I knew that we would meet people. I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't think that they would become part of our family, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't realize that, like, because when we first started traveling with her, we started when she was about 3 months. We took short trips. We kind of tested the waters, saw what she could do, how she could handle it. And we went to see family, we went to see friends, we went to see people we already knew as we decided to go on this nomadic journey and be quote unquote homeless and not have a place where we have a stationary bed or our stuff, like all of our stuff is in storage. Yeah. And to not have that, but to still have a home, like almost anywhere. Like we're in a city where we didn't think we would really know anybody. We've made friends. We've gotten to go to different amazing places based on the people we've met. Like we've gotten to like add new people to our essentially like playbook of, or like our Rolodex of friends and family, and like in a way that I did not expect.
Yeah. Yeah. You're, everyone is a magnet and you either attract or repel people. And it sounds like you're finding the folks that vibe.
Yeah, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's been more awesome and then having the podcast on top of that and being able to like then go back and chat with people that we met maybe for a brief moment, or that maybe we've like, luckily, one of the people that I got to chat with recently was someone I met in New Orleans, like when we first started traveling. She just went with her daughter, who's like a year and something, and they went all the way to Japan. And like,
Wow.
yeah.
How cool.
Like, how cool to be a year and a half or whatever walking around Japan. Like, so I just literally like got to chat with my friend about something that like I'm so interested in, that there's never that burnout. There's never that feeling of
Yeah.
like, I don't want to hear about this. Like, you and I have been talking for like almost 2 hours and I have no desire to be done. Like,
Yeah. Well, we
it,
can do an epi too.
yeah. Well, you'll just become a permanent co-host.
All right. I love it.
And then the thing that I think has been, it just hasn't gotten better, is the way that we travel. We get kicked out of where we
Mhm.
live. And so we have to sort of pack and move on within about 3 days, is like our turnover time.
Mm.
And so it's difficult to plan. It's difficult to have people come visit. It's difficult to say like, oh, we're going to be here in 3 months or whatever, because
Right.
we just don't know. So that I think is really hard. And the uncertainty of that in the moment, those like that, like 5 days
Yeah.
of we've gotten kicked out. We have 2 days to pack, a third day where we have to get everything into the car and get moving. We also have to figure out where we're going and plan that, get there. And like the process of doing all that, like, we've gotten so good at it
Yeah.
comparatively. But it sucks every time.
Yeah.
It's like, it's never like, but it also, it gives me that same level of dopamine at the end, where I am like, did you see that? Did you see what we just did?
That
Like,
was sick.
we drove through like 4 states, and we went from like, the place we're staying now is this huge 2 bedroom, 2 bath, walk-in closet, massive living room, balcony, like beautiful downtown area. Like, it's something we would never be able to
Right.
afford. Like, but we get to do this for a couple weeks and it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, it's afford like that 5 days of mayhem
Chaos.
and chaos. It's probably worth it once you
Every
land somewhere else, and you're showing that resiliency, right? Of like, okay, we're gonna make it through. It's gonna be a challenge, but like we trust ourselves, and we're gonna fall up. Like I'm sure you're like, oh man, I don't want to leave this place. But then when you get to the next place, you're like, okay,
all of
never
it.
mind, worth it.
Like the last few days at the last place we were, I was devastated. We had made new friends. We were saying bye to old friends. We were saying bye to family that we got to see while we were there. And we go to, and I'm like, oh, maybe we're making the wrong choice. Every time it's this 5 days of emotional baggage and physical
Mm,
baggage, and like
yeah,
us just processing, and like, thank goodness our entire family enjoys it and benefits from it, because that's the other thing. If you don't want to do this lifestyle is not for you. Like,
yeah, yeah, 100%.
most
Like I
definitely.
love having the home base, but like I'm like always looking. I'm like, all right, where are we going next? And it's like, okay, what we're so secure at home, but we want to leave constantly. So it's kind of like this weird um
It
relationship, right? Like
it
we love being
also,
home, but we also love being away.
yeah, me and my partner were the same way for most of our relationship. And it wasn't until this past year that we really were faced with, you either have to essentially buy a house and pick where you're living. And we knew once we did that, with a kid, the ability to pick up and move and see all the cities we want to see was so, it was going to be difficult. It was going to be
More
a lot
difficult.
more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then saying like, here we go. And we sort of have this momentum now that is allowing us to kind of keep pushing forward and doing that. But it certainly is not for the faint of heart. And
Yeah.
like I said, like, it has its downfalls. We've missed weddings. We've missed, I missed the birth of my first nephew. Like, there are certainly things that it's like, wow, that's such a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think those are things that people deal with no matter where they live, where, like that's life. And so
Yep.
we also speak, just like to add on top of this, I've learned to do things with our car that I didn't know I was able to do. Like, so I'm going to tell you one story and you're going to be like, this is nuts. But Ryan had to go to a work event. So I was dropping him off in a state that we didn't live in and then driving like another 2 hours to another city to stay with some friends. And then he was going to be gone for like a week and then he was going to come meet us. So we were like, okay, we had this plan. And on the way to drop him off, Poppy started getting sick, vomiting in the car like every hour. At that point, we had been driving for about 5 hours. And I think we still had
Oh,
like another hour to get him to his work thing and then me 2 hours to get to like where we were going.
oh my
And
God.
she's vomiting, we're cleaning out the car seat. This was in the beginning. We didn't know what we were in for. And so we didn't have things like prepared. We're trying to finagle. We get that done. We get it all taken care of. She's okay. We get back in the car. We drive Ryan to his work. I get back in the car. She vomits again. And
Ugh.
now I'm alone. And I'm like,
Right.
fuck me. So I do it all alone. And then I'm like, okay, we got it sorted. It's all good. We get in the car. I'm trucking along. We got like an hour left. And I'm like, we've been driving for 10 hours. Like, I just gotta, this is the end. All of a sudden, uh, like my entire dashboard on the car lights up and it's like your tires are flat, the AWS something stopped working, some like whatever, and like all these things. And so I pull over on the road, I try and turn the car off, I'm like whatever, I'm like it's still working, I do a little research and I'm like, is the car going to explode? Can I make it another hour? I can make it another hour. Only to find out we had a little bit of a water leak. So we had some lights go out, we had some burnt circuits,
Yeah.
and then there was like some filter issues at the same time because we were driving from winter essentially to summer. And
Yep.
so the filter had some issues. So like all of a sudden I had to research how to do all these things on the car. And I think for like $13, I fixed everything myself and was
YouTube
like,
mechanic.
I literally turned into a mechanic and I was so fucking proud of myself. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is the first time I think I'm actually talking about it. And I just need you to tell me it was amazing.
Oh, effing amazing. Because this is what adventure's all about, is like this shit happens, right? So totally, yes, yes.
Literally,
Yeah.
literally. But I just remember like and that was something that I never expected. I never thought I would need to know how to do. I needed to like the air filter thing stopped working and there was like the liquid of the coolant. And I mean, I can't tell you all the things, but like the circuit changing, having to get under the car, like all of it.
For the fuses. Yep.
I was
Yep.
like, am I amazing? Like, is
Good for
everybody
you. Is
jealous
anyone
of me?
watching this?
Yeah. Like, I was like, should I start a podcast so that at some point I can talk about this?
The truth comes out. All right. All right.
And
Amazing.
this wasn't edited. Can you believe
Yes.
it?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay, but how can we get to you? How
Yes.
can the people reach you and utilize your expertise?
Yeah. So most of the content and ideas I'll be talking about are going to be on Instagram. I think it's a really easy way to like get those out there. It's easy for me to edit and stuff. So my handle is at Your Wild Child Outfitters. So you can find us there. And then our website is wildchild-outfitters.com. So we're releasing the fishing kit. We're doing a pre-sale on November 5th, but we'll have a couple other sales coming up. We're still working on sourcing all the components, testing, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be ready in the spring of 2025. But I've got like a couple friends and family that want to support it. So like we're just going to do a pre-sale, get some momentum, and then go from there. And then we've got a couple other really cool kids products designed to just get them out. So like I think you mentioned the eclipse and full moons and stuff like that. I'm working on like a rigid air tent right now that's going to be all incorporated, really easy to blow up and all that. So you can get your kids outside in the backyard or you can go camping with it. But again, most of that will be happening in the spring.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I am also going to link all those things in here. Realistically, this is probably going to have to be 2 episodes because it's fucking long and so good. And like,
Awesome.
why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
But we'll have to have you back.
You
Get
let me
ready.
know. You let
I
me
will.
know, and we'll catch up.
All right. I have 11 minutes to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you for
Awesome.
hanging with me.
Yeah.
Truly.
Thanks for having me. Great combo. Looking
Like-
forward to more.
Thanks so much for traveling with us today. Don't forget to pack your likes, follows, and subscribes. They help keep this adventure going. Follow the podcast wherever you listen and find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more family-friendly fun. Want to fuel the journey? Support us directly via Patreon or the support the show button in the show notes. And remember, supporting our sponsors means more adventures for everyone. Until next time, keep exploring with your little co-pilot. Come, hold my hand. Let's go on an adventure.